Okay
Hindi
na?
pa po.
Wait,
Oh, ayan.
ako na.
Thank you, Paul. Opo. Opo.
Okay,
Thank you,
okay na.
ma'am. Opo.
Okay, sige. Parang nawala. Parang nawala,
Yes,
no?
ma'am, nawala po yung
Oh, no.
PowerPoint.
Wala siyang
Patay.
wala.
Parang kasalanan ko ata.
Patay ka, friends.
Hindi, okay lang. It's working na.
Right.
Andyan na po, ma'am.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Ayan.
And then in terms of audience, of course, people of Israel, purpose, sabi natin, it's to provide the main record of their history sa Promised Land from the time of the death of Joshua until Samuel, or even until the monarchical period, which is under Saul and David. Pero there's another purpose also, and that is to reveal the spiritual and moral decline of the tribes now after setting in the Promised Land. Name, sabi natin, yung English title is taken from Vulgate. Vulgate is the Latin translation of the Bible, pero itong Vulgate also was influenced by the Septuagint. So yung Septuagint, Vulgate, and the English title, they all have the same meaning, judges. Pero yung Hebrew title, sabi natin, it's Shophatim, and it carries the meaning of deliverers, judges, rulers, saviors. So, pero sabi natin, it does not only mean that they maintain justice or they do something like some cases, but also meron din siyang meaning of to liberate or deliver. So kung sa atin pa yan ngayon, ang mga judges during that time are the guerrilla fighters or the freedom fighters, no? So yung principal purpose why God raised them is found in 2:16. Hala, do I have to repeat what I said kanina? Kasi meron mga additional. Sige lang. And then, yung call nila, meron divine intervention. Kaya if you happen to read yung mga judges, meron doon nakasulat na the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. But we also said na itong judges is not a new office anymore dahil during the time of Moses, meron na. No? They do exist, and their purpose or their function was to settle disputes, or kung may kaso, nakikinig sila. And they also help the Levites, no, in some ways. But also we said na they were not like kings who were more powerful. Less yung power nila. They cannot tax the people. They cannot have armies of their own. At saka walang family line or dynasty, no? So which means to say after their death, God is going to raise another one. And also because nakita din natin na etong mga judges, they did not deliver or rule the whole nation, but rather regional sila, no? So it could be may dalawang nag-overlap na may dalawang judges na nagja-judge ng certain tribes at the same time. So kaya sabi natin it's hard to just add the numbers of years that they ruled or judged, kasi hindi yung ganon eh. Kasi pwede dalawang judges at the same time pero different places. And in structure, quite simple, no? Very, very basic, is the first 3 chapters, half of it is we see the disobedience, why they were spiraling downward because of their disobedience. A lot of anong sinabi ni Moses and ni Joshua sa kanila, they did not follow it. So which means to say they broke the covenant. And so therefore, they need discipline. So pag may disobedience, sabi nga ng isang author, when we break the law or when we disobey God, we are actually inviting God to discipline us, no? Which is true naman. So when we continue in disobedience, we are actually inviting God to discipline us. Not because God enjoys our suffering, no, but because He just wants to discipline us, to make us, better persons. And then, of course, the prologue is disorder and the extent of failure. Now, di ba sabi ko kanina, yung when you read the book of Judges, hindi siya in chronological or sequential order. So, meron passages that would come first before reading. So let's say for example sa chapter 2 mas mauna kaysa sa chapter 1. Now for this particular most scholars, no, or at least those ones that I've read in work nila, they say etong 17 to 21 happened earlier, somewhere here pa, earlier than dito sa main body. And if you happen to read 17 to 21, sobra naman yung ginawa na nila, no? Sabi natin, family feud, as a result, there was death in the family, 69 kapatid na pinatay, tapos the gang rape, and then we also get to see yung how because they desire to have wives, so they would kidnap girls sa festivals, and then they would force these ladies to marry them, the kidnappers. So sobrang that's why it says here the extent of failure. But some authors would say that etong 17 to 21 could have happened earlier than etong main body. Okay, so we've seen the setting already, and we've seen yung Joshua is the link between these two books. At the same time, nakita din natin yung behavior nila. So right after what happened to Joshua, the death of Joshua and some of the elders, maybe a few years after Joshua's death, the elders were still able to judge them. Pero nung namatay na sila and the second generation who went into Canaan died, wala na. They started to go back. No? So, repeat na naman. They went to go back to their old ways. And sabi sa chapter 2, etong third generation did not know anything about God. So, probably parang may impression tayo that maybe the previous generation did not do anything to help them, no, to pass on the truth about God to them. So kasi why, how come they did not know anything about God? So that's why they forsook ano yung dapat nilang gawin. And so it's a sad thing because dapat continuous na sana, no, when they were in the book of Joshua, when they settled, conquered, settled, tuloy-tuloy na sana yun, pataas, no? They were soaring, they were doing good, they were soaring high, they were worshiping God, they were faithful to God. Pero right after Joshua and the elders died, wala na, no? So sayang yung opportunity of, of them being blessed by God. Instead, we see curses and punishment. So, ito yung summary. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Actually, dalawang verses yan that has this line, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And so, in terms of decline, nandun na yung military. So, they were no longer conquerors. They were less able. Hindi na sila nakahold ng yung victories. Sayang yung victories na inumpisa ni Joshua. But during this time, wala nang victories. They were always defeated by their neighboring nations or the people within the borders, no? They were defeated. Tapos, of course, spiritual decline. They started to forget their covenant, the covenant with God. And because of that, wala na, they did not go to where they're supposed to go to worship God. And then morally, nag-decline na rin. They forgot to teach their children about the laws and so forth and so forth. So, and from here, we see that yung harassment, that's it. Canaanites, this is within the border, yung 7 nations. Pero As if these were not enough, meron pa. The nations living on their borders. Not, and if to think na etong Midianites, Moabites, and Ammonites were all related. No, there were, if you trace them, connected lang sila to each other, except for the Philistines, of course. So God had to raise judges. Okay, let me pause for a while and ask you this question. Um, when they sinned against God and forsook the law, they started to worship other gods, and God would and they would cry out to God. God would send other nations, and they would cry out to God. What does it tell us about God when He sends these judges to His people, primarily to save them? Ano yung what does this tell us about our God?
Jealous, ma'am.
Yes, jealous. Uh-huh.
At the same time,
Because
parang two side of the coin ba? Parang holy siya. At the same time, he is gracious
yes,
for sending
gracious.
those
That's right.
judges
No.
outside.
Right. So jealous in the sense that they were already told, remember the Shema? Ano nga sabi sa Shema? Listen, hear, O Israel. Ano nga yung Shema? It's good to memorize this. Oh, by the way, additional pala ha, try to memorize the Shema. And also, I think I told you first week of our meeting na at the end of this semester, kailangan na memorize na natin yung 39 books in chronological order. Right? It's a Christian Bible, not the Hebrew, of course. Okay, so ano sabi ng Shema? The first part of Shema tells us that
Hear, O Israel.
Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is
The Lord is one.
one.
Tama ba, ma'am?
So, yes, the Lord is one. So, why will you worship other gods? The fact that God knew very well that when they go to this land, nandoon yung temptation to worship other gods. And that's why He was telling them that there's only one true God, and siya yung dapat i-worship ninyo, not this false gods, no? And remember also that um, not just in Canaan nandun si Baal, but also sa Philistines nandun si Dagon, sa Phoenicia nandun si Molech. So parang basically they were really surrounded with so many gods, and the fact that they also saw the gods of the Egyptians, no, although this is the new generation already. So talagang God knew, no, there's the tendency for this people, for this chosen people, to really um, forget Him. So by raising these judges, it tells us that yes, God is holy, God is just, but at the same time, God is also gracious. That even ulit-ulit na talaga, no, yung ginagawa ng mga tao, still very gracious. His love for them is still there. And also because He's a covenant-keeping God. So meron siyang covenant with Abraham, and He has to fulfill that one. No? But God is a promise keeper at the same time. So they're all well distributed. Sabi natin may major, minor, because yung minor naman not so much the developing story nila. But if you take a look, these are where they come from, or it's possible where yung mga battles nangyari, no? So it's all distributed. That's why we said we cannot just add up yung number of years etong 11 or 12 judges. We cannot just add up and tell, okay, ito na yung number of years ng judges. No, because di natin alam na baka one of these judges, probably si Abdon, could have judged or delivered the people in this area, but at the same time meron din ibang judge somewhere dito, kaya nag-overlap, so hindi natin masabi talaga na for how long, no? But just based on the studies of the scholars, it's about 300 to 350 years ang judges. So, reasons for the rapid decline, ito na nga sana, no? Tuloy-tuloy na sana, kaso naging opposite talaga. Kung ano man ang positive dito, kung ano man sila klaseng tao dito, and kung ano man na-experience nila dito, very opposite ang nangyari dito. So, kung meron silang obedience, incomplete obedience is still disobedience. Tapos nag-compromise pa. Tapos hindi lang nila ginawa once but many times. Obedient, disobedient. Trusted God, rebelled against God. Victory, defeat, possession, oppression. So, sabi natin, some of the reasons are because they did not drive the Canaanites out of the land, which in the first place, when Moses was still alive, they were already given the warning to drive them out, no treaty with them, no peace, no covenants with them, no intermarriage or whatsoever, because the Canaanites had so many gods, and once they make treaty with them or make peace with them, there's always a tendency na instead sila ang mag-i-influence sa Canaanites, they will be influenced by the Canaanites, no? So, yung iba kasi, what they did to the Canaanites who were still there sa place nila, they made them as bond servants, no? But just the same, they still disobeyed God. Of course, sabi natin, entered into covenants, and because of that, they forsook the worship of the true God, and they did not listen to the judges, no? And then, yes, this is also one of the causes why they fell, no? Yung spiraling downward, because eto talaga, this is what God has been telling them. Do not give your daughters or sons to them. And yet they did it. Of course, sabi natin, there's a repeated cycle, and this cycle has 4 steps or 4 sequence or 5. So this is what happened. So, parang hindi rin sila napagod, no? Kasi in the entire 350 years, ganito lang ginagawa nila parati. Every time, ito lang ginagawa nila. It could also be 5. So if you're very particular with like following one letter, you can do this one. Okay, oops. I gave you an assignment. Let's identify the 7 cycles. And I hope you did. Ano nga yung clue natin dito is the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, I'll call you one by one, and give me 1 cycle. So there should be a total of 7 cycles. Okay, I don't know who are still here with us, so I'll just have a guess. I'll just call your name. If you're here, you can answer. If no answer, then that means you're not here. Okay, just Mark, can you give me the first one? Just Mark.
Honestly, ma'am, I did not make my assignment.
Okay, sige. Let's try Jocelyn.
I'm
Jocelyn.
sorry, wala kalimot yung kugwa. Ma'am, nakalimot yung kugwan, ma'am.
Mga,
Sorry po.
mga bata pa kayo. Forgetful na kayo.
Promise,
Let's
danon
go
kay ko.
to... Okay, sige. Paul, do you have one? Let's start from the beginning, Paul?
Ma'am, ako, same pod, ma'am. Pero na ako nabuan, ma'am, sa 3 verse 7, ma'am.
I thought sabi mo, what did you say kanina? Hindi ka rin gumawa?
Yes, ma'am. Pero ako man ba nabasahan ganina pod buntag
Okay,
while gabasa
okay.
pod.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes, the first one is 3-7. No? Okay, give me the next one. Rico, are you with us, Rico? Rico? Parang nakita kita kanina nag-join Rico. Okay. Shekinah? What's the next one after
Ma'am.
3-7? Yes.
Hindi ko din
Shekinah.
ginawa. Hindi ko din
Ala.
ginawa. Oo.
Matt, are you
Pero
okay?
if
Matt, are you here? Sino yun? Matt?
Sa akin, ma'am.
Si Matt? Okay. Matt, can you give me the...
Rico po, ma'am. Rico po yun, ma'am.
Okay, Rico. Okay, sige, Rico. Can you give me the next one, Rico?
Wala din, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Haha. Okay, Rico, Shekinah, wala din. Okay, Matt, wala rin si Matt. Ayan. Nandiyan ka ba, Ayan? Ayan? Okay. Bianca? Bianca?
Ma'am.
Bianca, meron ka rin?
Na ako'y nakita, ma'am. Karon lang.
Okay.
Lahat to.
Oh, wait. Okay, instead of calling you one by one, sinong gumawa, sinong hindi? Yun lang. Sino nakagawa?
Ako po, ma'am.
Si Franz. Okay, what about the rest? Wala?
Ako, ma'am. Karon lang ko nakakita, ma'am.
Okay. So only Franz did it? Okay, sige. I'll give you 2 minutes to look for the 6 cycles. Okay, 2 minutes for everyone to look for it. Except
Ma'am,
for Franz. Yes, Franz?
mag-answer na po, ma'am.
Wait, Franz, later na. We'll wait for them
Okay.
para sabay-sabay. Okay, everyone get your Bible and look for the other, na-answer na yung 3-7 ni Paul. So, 6 na lang. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, human na. Let's try to look for that pattern, no? And it's repeated 7 times. Given na yung first. Okay? It's 2 minutes up na ba? Tapos na ata ang 2 minutes. Just want to say something pala about the 5th part. Kasi wala siya sa 4th part. Although it's implied already. Are we done? Tapos tayo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me change the laser pointer. Okay. Let's go back to this one. Yung rest or silence, although it's implied already sa 4th part, dito kasi nakasulat talaga rest or silence. This is the time when after God would rescue them, no, through the judges, they will obey God, they will worship God for a time being, meaning to say, temporary lang. And they will do that until, of course, the judge dies. So pag wala na naman yung judge, they go back to, eto na, they go back to this one, sin. So yung rest here, there is peace, and habang, for as long as the judge is alive, there's peace, there's rest. walang oppressors. Pero pag namatay na yung judge, balik na naman sila sa dati. Okay, sige. So we're done with 3-7. France, you give me the next one, France.
Yung second one, ma'am.
Yes, the
Judges for one, ma'am.
4-1. But I think there's another one sa chapter 3.
Ako, ma'am.
Do you have that?
312, ma'am.
Po, ma'am.
312,
Wait lang,
ma'am.
wait lang. Si France lang muna. So we have 3-7. What's the next one, France? Still in chapter
312, ma'am.
3-12. That's
12.
right.
Opo.
That's right. 3-12. Okay.
Yung
Let's call on. Yes.
Ah.
3-7, 3-12. Delight, are you here? Delight. Delight. Okay. John Vance. John Vance. Wala rin.
Wala po si
Genesis.
John Prince, ma'am.
Genesis. Wala rin. Okay. Cindy. Oh, ang dami pala. Ilan na lang pala tayo?
10 tayo lahat, ma'am.
10. So why are they not answering me? Okay. David. David, nandyan ka ba? Uh-oh. Maybe they're sleeping. Okay. Let's go back. Bianca. Can you give me the third one, Bianca?
Yes, ma'am. The judges for one.
Okay, 4-1. Ayan? Wala. Matt? Wala. Shekinah. What's the next one?
6-1 po.
Okay, so we're done with 3-7, 3-12, 4-1, 6-1. Rico? Meron ka ba nahanap, Rico? Wala. Jess Mark?
Ten six po, ma'am.
Just before 10-6. Meron pa isa. Just before 10-6.
6-1.
Na-answer na yung 6-1. Between 6-1 and 10-6, meron isa dyan. Anyway, you answered 10-6. Okay, sige. We'll ask somebody to answer the one before 10-6. Can you answer it? Jocelyn, meron ka ba nahanap? Jocelyn? Okay. Let's get back to France. Can you give me one, France, between 6-1 and 10-6?
So, ma'am.
Ano yun?
Hindi na po ba yung 4-1, ma'am?
Yes. 4-1, 6-1, and then just before 10-6, meron pa isa dyan.
Ma'am, sa 10:33?
10:33? Is it
Ayun.
10:33? Is it 10:33?
10:34, I think, ma'am.
4 sa 6-1, ma'am, no?
8:34, ma'am. 8:33 and 8:34.
Yeah, it's 6-1. It's not 10. 10. Yung sa chapter 10, it's 6 to 10 lang. So yung chapter 8,
Ay,
yun na yun,
8:30.
33. And the last one, who wants to give the last one? Hindi ko na alam kung sino-sino pang tatawagin ko. Who's that?
13-1.
Anybody?
13-1.
Okay.
13-1 po,
13-1
ma'am.
po.
Eto na yun. Okay, so there's the sin, punishment, there's a crying out, salvation, rescue na, and then there's quiet. So these are the people that started. So yung 7 cycles, ito na yun. 3-7, 3-12, or yeah, 4-1, 6-1, 8-33, 10-6, and 13-1. So hindi lang sila ginawa one time pero paulit-ulit throughout the 350 years. And so these are the judges. These are most of this actually yung ito si Othniel, Ehud, Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, and Samson. These are the major ones. And of these six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Etong si Ehud, Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, Samson, nasa book of Hebrews sila, except for Othniel. Not sure why he was not included there. But I think the rest are there. Okay, so this is the sequence of the seven
Excuse me, ma'am.
cycles.
Bakit po hindi kasali ganun yung 211 po, ma'am?
Because 211 is just the narration kung ano nangyari sa kanila. It's just a summary of what is about to come. Kumbaga, this is from, yung 211 is from that's an introduction pa lang, yung 211. Pero it started talaga, eto na yung kay Othniel.
Okay. Thank you po, ma'am.
Diba? If you take a look at it, parang ano lang yan, sinasabi pa lang, parang it's an introduction actually of what is to come or kung anong makikita natin. So it's a narration, parang ganun. It's a narration. It's
Yung ano po,
yes,
yung 37 po.
3:7. Yeah,
Po.
it's there. 3:7 si Othniel. Here.
Akala ko po 312 yung
Yeah, 3:12 is here.
37 and 312 po, ma'am. Including na po yun.
It's a separate one. It's a separate one. So, let's take a look si Othniel ha. Ilan years yun? Teka, I just discovered something. Wait. Paano nga yun? Oh, no, not. I just discovered something dito. Oh, yun. Let's take a look at Othniel. So, 40 years rest. And after 40 years, tsaka na nag-oppress yung mga Moabites. Somewhere here dito sa Benjamin. So, that's why there's also a gap there. No? Yung iba kasi parang di naman nakaspecify kung sino yung enemy, or lalo si Shamgar, they do not actually know from, they said he's some scholars will say parang di naman siya Israelite, no? But that's why it's just, they just put a question mark here. Tapos dito, kaya nga sinasabi natin these are minor kasi hindi masyado na-develop yung story nila, no? And so, except for eto na, yung sa major minors, you get to see yung mga battles, you get to see yung mga anong ginawa nila, no? But for the rest, kaya minor lang sila. Okay, good. At least you were able to identify kung yung 7 cycles na yun, no? And, di ba, minsan tiresome kasi paulit-ulit sila ginagawa nila yun. So what's the implication of this? What's the implication of all? Okay, by the way, let me just share you something about Canaanite gods. I just read in I will tell you things that I these nations that surrounds Israel, they were polytheists, meaning to say each nation has multiple gods, no? So yung Jewish monotheistic God, remember they were told to only worship the one God, the one true God. So yung concept na yun was actually totally a new concept in the world, because all the rest of the nations that were surrounding and even the ones within the boundary, they practiced polytheism. And then also, not only polytheism, but also they were animists. In other words, yung gods nila were all in nature. So, kaya meron silang gods of the trees, god of the seas, of the waters, of the fields. And then there are also syncretists in the sense na any new gods, they would just add it to the other gods that they already. Just like us, also we practice syncretism because I know for a fact na yung mga Chinese, they practice this one. Kasi we have some members sa church namin na they are Christian, but at the same time, may mga belief pa rin sila regarding yung Chinese customs. No? In other words, hindi sila yung, they have not totally left behind pa yung mga practices of the Chinese culture. So, parang they sort of incorporate it. So, kahit na Christian sila, pero nandun pa rin, no? Parang may paniwala pa rin sila sa mga whatever beliefs that the Chinese have. Also, there are some, even Catholics, di ba? Catholics na nga sila, but meron pa rin sila naniniwala sa mga, what do you call that in Tagalog? Pamahiin? How do you say that? But you know what I mean here. Minsan, we say we believe, we trust God. Pero when problems come, minsan we resort to, go back to where we come from, no? Kung ano man beliefs natin. So, hindi lang yung isang belief, but we also try to add other beliefs. Okay, just like very, very concrete example is pag meron kaming namatay na member sa church namin, no? So we conduct service. But at the same time, before kami magsa-service, they also do invite either Catholic or the priest to have another service. Or kung talagang pure Chinese sila or talagang they still believe in ano, so they would call yung ano nila sa temple, yung ganong tipo na you don't only believe in one God, the true God, but you also kind of add, kasi baka naman tama, parang ganon. So that's also what these nations within and without or outside the border, ganon din sila. They believe in so many gods. They're animists, they're syncretists, and so like the Canaanites, they have Baal, and they also have, so the Baal is identified as yung in terms of prosperity, kaya he's also the god of weather, he's also the god of sunshine, he's also the god of victory. Tapos meron din silang ibang gods na ang tawag sa kanila si Ashtoreth or si Ashtaroth or si Asheroth. Lahat to, no, these are variant. Isa lang naman to. And yes.
Yung screen niyo po, white lang po ba? Tama
Yes,
po ba?
yes.
Okay po.
So, ito yung female god nila, no? So, kung si Baal is the male god, and Baal has also pala larger Baal or smaller Baal. It depends on the region, no? So, ito na yun ang parang what's so interesting about these gods is that si Othniel, the nation's first deliverer, siya yung first, no? And Israel angers the Lord by serving the Canaanite fertility gods, si Baal and si Asherah. So since si Baal and si Asherah appear throughout the Old Testament, from this point, no, etong Judges, it's good that we need to know some of the things, no, about these two gods. So, di ba ang Canaanites, like Israel, di ba they were farmers and herdsmen? So, they depended on the land's fertility for support, yung mga Canaanites. And so, according to the Canaanite beliefs, si Baal was a fertility god. And it was Baal who made the animals fertile, not just animals, but also the women. Not just the women, but also the land, and so forth and so forth. So, si Baal and si Asherah, who happens to be his sister and wife at the same time, sila yung nagko-cause ng crops to grow and the animals to bear the young. So, Baal was seen as the god of fertility, and his sister, who is also in some stories happens to be his wife, his partner. So sila, dalawa, they are seen as the god and goddess that reproduce. And so, how do you worship such a god? No? But that's their beliefs. No? So because yung emphasis nila is on fertility, yung Baal worship had strong sexual overtones. So in fact, some Baal worshippers have meron silang sexual relationships in worship centers with prostitutes dedicated to Baal. That's why, I don't know if you came across already passages that says meron temple prostitutes or temple prostitution. That's exactly why they have that one. So there would be prostitutes, and some scholars think also hindi lang babae but also male prostitutes, so that men and women, they could go to the center, they have sexual relationships with these sacred prostitutes to worship sex and fertility. And so in an agricultural community, if you are worshiping the god who makes the crops grow, you are also worshiping a god who gives you money. So in other words, Baal worship was really about worshiping sex and money and power. And so it was a very popular religion. No? So connected siya to the lifestyle of the people, to the fleshly desires of human beings, and of course yung basic desire for power, sex, and money. So the people were worshiping these gods according to Judges chapter 3. Now, clearly, Baal worship violates the covenant God has made with Israel. That's why the Lord allowed these nations around them to oppress them. That's basically the reason. Now, you will probably ask, bakit ba yung mga Israel, they ran after the Canaanite Baals? Why were they so interested with these Canaanite Baals? Why not God? No, why these Canaanite Baals? It's because when the Israelites did some farming in Egypt, diba, they had the Nile River. So, in other words, when they were doing some farming sa Egypt, wala silang problema because they had the Nile to supply, yung water that they needed, and they use irrigation sa farming nila. Pero once they entered Canaan, they had to learn new farming methods kasi wala naman Nile to supply waters to them. So to ensure na meron rain, that rain would fall, to enable their plants or crop to grow, they carried out the same worship ritual as the Canaanite farmers. So that's why they also did it, because they were now influenced and they wanted to make sure na mag-grow yung anuman pinaplant nila. And so to ensure na the rain would come, then they also had to do these rituals sa mga temples. That's why when you happen to read, even in the following books pa, succeeding books, you will notice that meron talagang mga prostitutes sa temple. And even the Israelites also, parang they've gotten that kind of worship ritual na. So that's why they were interested with the Canaanite gods. So very interesting, no? And I don't know if you remember when we were studying the book of Exodus, I showed you one of the pictures of the gods. Parang meron siyang babae na nakadapa, naka-blue, something like that. That's also the god of fertility. So Baal was the god of fertility, and the goddess of fertility was Asherah. And it's very funny because sister siya, at the same time wife niya rin. Okay, so that gives us an idea now why etong mga Israelites were enticed also to do the worship rituals and to have sexual relationships or activities just to ensure rain would come. Remember, di ba, hindi masyado water, hindi masyadong parang they said sa Canaan, hindi masyado yung water doon sa kanila. So that's it. So what's the implications for this one? According to Wendt, if Israel was to continue as a people and survive, within the land, if they want to survive, if they want to stay longer in the promised land, there are three things that they need to do. First is, kailangan meron political unity. So the nation have to unite. Kasi remember sa chapter 17 to 20, 17 to 21, wala na silang national spirit. Parang kanya-kanya sila. And in fact, there's this story wherein yung mga tribes nag-aaway-away. They were citing this, they were citing that. So, wala na, no? And then, so there was lack of unity politically. They were fragmented. May rivalry between tribes. They were not seeing eye to eye. So, for them to stay long, kailangan may unity sila, no? So, they have to unite. Second is, syempre, spiritual purity. They have to deal with polytheism. They became spiritually weak already because they started to worship all these gods. So instead of monotheism, nandun na rin sila sa polytheism. And of course, dynastic continuity. What does it mean? Kailangan they would have to obtain a consistent, continuing form of leadership. Wala silang formal government during this time, right? And judges are local. They would only rescue parts of the people, not nation as a whole functioning together, working together, serving God together. So, excuse me, what could be the answer to all these things? What do you think would be the answer? Maybe they need to have a king, right? For them to have
Leader, ma'am.
yes, a leader. Yes, that's right, a leader, or perhaps a leader that is, who will rule over them. So maybe a king is what they need. Okay? So, but we will see kung ano nangyari sa kanila. How did God take it? And what was the provision? Um, of course, we all know that there's a monarchical kingdom. But what happened once they decided na they really wanted to have a king? And so that's a very interesting story to look forward to right after the midterm exam. But in the meantime, ito na yung situation sa judges, no? And so it's very sad because they could have really, really received so much blessings from the Lord, but they did not, because of their stubbornness, no? Because of their yung heart nila was not just right with God. And sometimes tayo ganun din naman. Um, Sometimes we want the hard way, no? We want to learn the hard way. And so God would send it to us if we want to learn the hard way. Sometimes alam na naman natin na this is the right thing to do, but we don't. Um, of course, it's understandable because you're young, but then um, even also Solomon discovered na later on in his life na he wasted so much of his time. Of course, we will get into that sa report ninyo. But habang bata pa, kailangan, 'di ba, yung commitment natin to the Lord is nandun na, no? And so so many things to learn from the book of Judges actually, and from the book of Joshua. Okay, but before that, let's take a look at the theme of the book this time. So after everything, no, after everything that we've discussed, what went on dito sa book of Judges, okay, just to give you an idea, no, yung if you read chapter 2, 6 to 12, that gives you the background already for the book. And then as you go forward past 11 and 19, it's already the summary of the end of theocracy. No? Kumbaga, wala na. They did not acknowledge God as their God because they kept on doing it. No? Even if they knew God would rescue them, but babalik at babalik pa rin sila. So parang they just didn't want God to be their ruler perhaps. No? And then, of course, the book's main idea would be, eto na nga, 17:6, 21, 25, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Very sad. Now, uh, what happens ba? Ano bang nangyayari pag everyone did what was right in his own eyes? When everyone becomes a law unto themselves, when God is not followed, and there's no ruler in the land, what happens? Anong mangyayari pag, sige, I'll do this because I think this is right. The other one would say, because wala naman nakakapagsabi mali yan. Because lahat tayo, we look at the things that we do as the right thing to do. So when that happens, when you no longer, when you neglect God anymore, and there's no ruler in the land, anong scenario? What's gonna happen? There is what?
Hel-
Huh?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. What happens kung ganun na, kung everybody
Di
would
po namin
do,
marinig, ma'am.
ay ganun? Like this, can you hear
Opo.
me? Okay. So what
Ayan po, ma'am.
okay. Okay, so what happens when everyone becomes a law unto themselves? What happens when God is not followed? What happens when there's no ruler in the land? Ano yung magiging scenario dito? There is what? Hmm? There is, of
Ano
course,
po
there's no
ulit,
king.
ma'am?
What happens when everyone becomes a law unto themselves? You take the law into your hands, you do what you think is right, kahit hindi. And what happens when,
Kayo.
yes, exactly, there is chaos, no? Sobrang magulo. Sobrang, everyone would just do it, whatever, whatever they want. And nobody's going to tell them, uy, mali ka. Because everyone did what was right in his own eyes. So, akala nila etong tama, but in reality, it is not. So, when the covenant is ignored, there's no king to keep order, terrible things happen. So, what sort of things nangyari? Let's take a look at chapter 11:31. Judges 11:31. Anong ginawa?
Ano,
Anong ginawa ni Jephthah?
Sacrifice
31
ng
po,
kanyang
ma'am.
daughter, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, 31. What did he do? Ano ba yung promise niya? Ano ba yung promise niya mangyayari? If he wins the battle,
Yung, kung, kung ano po yung lalabas sa door niya, ma'am. Sacrifice
uh
sa Panginoon.
magiging
yes,
sacrifice on us.
he's going to. So, sino nagpa-practice nito? Ang Israelites ba? Sinabi ba ni God sa kanila?
Ma'am.
No. So, where did they learn this one? From their
Kay
neighbors.
nanay.
Yes. Although, um, I read some books, no? Medyo nagva-vary din dito yung opinion ng scholars because some says um, parang hindi naman na-offer. Yung iba naman is they have another interpretation to this. But whatever it is, it looks like, yun kasi yung sinabi niya, di ba? Um, that if you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph of the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Some says nawala lang yung daughter niya but hindi na-sacrifice. But whatever it is, it's quite clear. He's going to sacrifice it. So that's a practice that the pagan nations do. That's a sad thing. What about in chapter 19? We will not read this story, but it's about what sa chapter 19? Anong nangyari sa mga women? Anong ginawa sa mga women sa chapter 19?
Okay po.
Come again? Ano yun, Jocelyn?
Kinatay po.
Yeah, pinatay or ni-rape. Ni-rape nila, no? And then, in chapter 20, relatives kill one another in civil war. So, sobrang terrible things happen, no? But, of course, according to House, readers should not think the author judges favor such action, no? Rather, the writer paints such gruesome pictures to warn future generations against lawlessness. So, there is chaos, there is lawlessness, and the very reason why this was written here is for the next generation to learn what happens when they forsake the law of God. Not exactly that they would support it, no, or that the author favors such action. Of course, it's a no-no, but they presented it anyway, just so the new generation will know na ano ba, what's the result when you forget God, when there is lawlessness, when you forsake the covenant. Ito yung mangyayari. So, um, keywords will be cycles, defeat, and ito yung mga common phrases. The Israel did evil in the eyes of the Lord, but when they cried out to the Lord, he raised up a deliverer. Once again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Okay, so with that, let's move on. Konti na lang, we're almost done. Oh, by the way, this will be the theme then, the failure of Israel. But, sabi nga natin, on the human side, eto, on the divine side, God remained faithful to them. And that's because he has a covenant with Abraham. Okay, so some theological themes, we see God is a savior, no? Although the judges are called savior, but obviously, in the mind of the author, God is a savior, no? Because he heard the cry of the people. He would raise up judges, and it also speaks about, at the same time, for us today, it also speaks about our need for an eternal deliverer or savior. And so God is a savior there, not just for the Israelites in the past, but for us today also. And it also speaks about God's love and covenant mercy, no? Um, kahit na he delivered, no, from the consequences of their failures. And the only reason naman why Israelites survived was not because of their military heroes, not because of the judges, but because of the persistent, unwearied love of God himself. So, although the people have forgotten God many times, always, but God have not forgotten them. And sabi nga natin before, God is the God of many chances, not just second chance, but many chances. And that's true because He gave them so many times para magbago. He gave them many new beginnings. And again, He would send judges to rescue them. He would not let them go. God is actually the hero of all these judges. So, sobra yung love and the covenant mercy of God to His people, to His chosen people. Kahit na minsan parang ayaw na nila kay God, no? But still, God will not let them go. And then, of course, the covenant faithfulness of God, long-suffering. And I think dito talaga sa dark ages, no, in the history of Israel, do we get to see yung demonstration how in the sense na yung gaano yung patience ni God, yung long suffering of, and how amazing God is. No? So it's during this time, against the background of eto na nga nangyayari sa tao, but still we get to see yung faithfulness ni God, and of course His lordship in Israel. No, yung kingship ni God over Israel, nandun na talaga yan. It's uniquely established by the covenant at Mount Sinai, which was later renewed by Moses on the plains of Moab. At hindi lang yun, nirenew pa yun ni Joshua at Shechem just before he died. So, as you can see, hindi talaga nagkulang ang mga leaders, si Moses and Joshua, sa pagre-remind sa mga tao, no? Again and again and again and again, renew always yung covenant. And I think it's up to the people whether they would really hold on to it or not. Okay, now let's take a look at this mga judges, no? Interesting to look at some of these judges here. Titingnan natin muna yung two men of special significance for contrast in spiritual leadership. You know who is Eli? Who is Eli, by the way?
Ma'am.
Yes, high priest, but at the same time, he's also considered as the judge. No? Now, was Eli a good example? Was he a good example, si Eli? What happened to his children, to his sons? He was not a good example kasi medyo meron din siyang hindi nagawa for his two sons because his two sons became bad examples to the people. You will see that when we go to the book of First Samuel. And then another person here is Samuel. He was a judge, at the same time priest and a prophet. He's considered as the last prophet, no? or the last judge, I mean. Was he a good example?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we will answer that when we get to First Samuel. Okay, but for now, in contrast with Eli, good example siya. No? So, Judges clearly teaches that the people of Israel were covenant breakers, no, who often maintained the demands of God's democracy. Now, there are notable leaders or judges, no, and these are, nakita na natin kanina si Othniel, si Ehud, si Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, and Samson. And what makes them notable leaders was not because based military campaigns nila. This distinction is usually made based on why notable, because they were successful in their military campaigns, no, and some other stuff that they did. So, but from this, yung three best known judges are Deborah, Gideon, and Samson. By the way, yung mga laking Sunday school dito, have you heard the stories of Deborah, Gideon, Samson sa Sunday school? Sinong laking Sunday school dito?
Opo, ma'am.
Yes.
Ako.
Have you
Ako
heard their
po.
stories already? Okay, good.
Yung
Yes.
So,
Deborah po.
the three of them. Actually, parati sa Sunday school,
Believe.
usually si Gideon and si Samson. Not so much on Deborah, di ba?
Yes.
Pero meron din, pero hindi masyado na-emphasize si Deborah. More of Gideon and Samson. Okay, sabi nila, si Deborah came closest to being a model. And ito si Samson, judge nga siya, pero wala siyang army, no troops. No? So, judges depicts, of course, meron silang strength. Lahat naman ng judges may strength and weaknesses. But for one thing, okay, let's take a look at them pala. May picture pala ako. Ipakita. What happened? Yun. That's Deborah. That's Gideon. And Samson. Okay. Ano nga, when when God called Gideon, did he say yes kaagad-agad?
Hindi po.
Hindi.
Hindi po, ma'am.
Yes, he wanted to make
Hmm.
sure na ako talaga, Lord. Ako talagang magle-lead sa mga tao away from ito, against our oppressor. So he wasn't quite sure. Kaya tinest niya si God, no? Yung fleece. Okay, we all know the story. But then, itong mga judges, they were heroes, pero badly flawed. In other words, they were not perfect. But still, God graces and uses them, no? But that doesn't make them sinless or not models for us to follow, no? Sige, tingnan natin anong nangyari kay Samson. What was the weakness of Samson?
Babae,
Fair
ma'am.
po. Fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ay,
Yes.
babae.
Yes, weakness niya. Babae, no? Chicks tirada talaga siya. Okay. By the way, etong mga judges na to, they were known for their heroism in battle, no? Yung military campaigns, but not sa personal life nila. So, Samson's weakness was chick boy siya. The lust for women, but also he broke his vow, and then he fooled around with the Philistines. By the way, meron siyang vow ginawa si Samson. Ano yun?
Fair po ba, ma'am? Na
Yeah,
hindi
there's
niya
one.
ipapakat
Ano yun?
po ba,
Ano yung,
ma'am?
ano yung, ano yung vow? I think I gave that as an assignment, right? Yung assignment ninyo sa book of, was it Joshua ba yan?
Wala kami
He would,
sa Joshua po.
no, not Joshua. Just before that, I know meron eh. Naibigay ko yung a kind of vow. You still remember that
Yun na
vow?
ba yung sa end? Sa end, ma'am? Or yung sa mother niya or si Samson yung nag-vow po sa Lord?
Yes, meron yung assignment ninyo na I asked kung ano yung vow na to. Parang meron eh, if I remember it right. Anong tawag dun sa vow na yun? Di ba Nazarite
Fair
vow? Yes. So he was a
ba, ma'am?
Nazarite. Yes. Oo. Itong mga Nazarites, they are a particular group of people who committed themselves to separate themselves to be used by God. So, yung mga Nazarites, some of them lifetime na. Some of them naman for a certain period of time lang. Pero may mga restrictions sila. So, habang Nazarite sila, may mga restrictions sila. And these are the ones. Ay, why is this? Okay, there. Uy, dapat hindi pa. Lumabas naman. So, what are the restrictions of the Nazarite? No eating some meats. No cutting of hair. Kaya si Samson, hindi niya pinakat yung hair niya. No touching of dead things. No alcohol, no grapes. And it's a promise from before birth. Sa kanya is lifetime na talaga. And there were other two Nazarites. I think si John the Baptist. And I think Jesus is also considered a Nazarite, no? So, yun. And they were set apart for special service of God. So he was a Nazarite, but I think he broke some of these vows. And of course, yung women. Si Gideon, he started it well, but did you know he led the nation to idolatry? Yeah. Yung ephod niya, ginawa niyang God. And then si Jephthah, yun na nga, sad thing, he sacrificed his daughter. Ito si Abimelech, I did not include because some authors think he's not a judge, no? But Abimelech is actually the son of Gideon. Just imagine, ilan ang pinatay niya? 70 half-brothers. What does this tell us about Gideon being the father? Again, it goes back. Diba? Yung mga responsibilities ng parents. Although, of course, sometimes, hindi naman natin totally mabablame yung parents. No? Sometimes, kahit na paano ang pangangaral, kung sa Tagalog, paano, even though how much our parents sometimes would advise, would teach us, but kung ang company natin, kung the kind of friends that we spend time with, iba, there's always a tendency na may influence tayo, diba? So, although it's not always the fault of parents, but they do have responsibility. It's like in the case of Eli, bakit nagkaganon yung mga sons niya? Probably because also he failed as a father. So, probably here also partly because Gideon failed as a father. And how come yung anak niya pinatay yung 70 half-brothers niya, no? So, as you can see, yes, military, nandoon yung heroism. They're mighty in terms of, going to battles, but then personal life nila hindi sila that perfect, no? So, and some of the judges also did not follow the rules of proper warfare. Like for example, may mga trick sila ginawa, may pa-surprise victory pa sila, and all those stuff, no? And so, you might wonder na, why the stories? Why include the stories? Rape, murder, homosexuality, idolatry. Why include this sa Bible? Ako, to be honest, when I was growing up, all I thought was that walang ganun sa Bible eh. Lalo na when I took the wisdom literature many years ago, and we were asked to read Song of Songs. And for those ones who are reporting Song of Songs, prepare yourself. Because there were terms there na parang, meron pala ganito sa Bible? Because I grew up thinking na yung Bible walang mga words ganon. And like what we're seeing now, rape, murder, all these things, it's still here. You might wonder why, no? Why? And that's probably because the author wants to show the next generation this is going to happen to you if you forsake the Lord. Okay, so that's it. So but then in the midst of all these things, meron naman yung mga bright spots. Meron naman yung mga good things that happen. Like for example, there's a song of victory, and then of course the first record of a woman functioning as a leader, si Deborah nga. And so some bright spots naman kahit paano. Okay, so some thoughts to ponder for us. Disobedience has always consequences. We know that. But even if we know it, minsan we still choose to disobey. No? And when we disobey, there is punishment, there's loss. And like one of the authors said, if we continue to disobey, we are actually inviting disciplines from God. And so the Israelites here presents a perfect example of what we are not to do. Okay, so disobedience has always consequences. Another thing is may difference between God's standards and the world's standards. Sometimes people will say no absolute truth, but all truth is in the eyes of the beholder. Parang beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. But here, truth is in the eyes of the beholder. And that's exactly what the Israelites thought. Wala naman absolute truth na everything is okay. And sometimes people would say na it is fine to serve other gods. Okay lang naman. Because sometimes people would say that all standards are equal. But the Bible from the very beginning already gives us a warning, no? And that if we don't follow the principles outlined by God in His Word, then terrible consequences. So there is a difference between God's standards and the world standards. And it's up to us to follow which one we want. God's standards or the world standards. Okay? Other thoughts? Temptation is everywhere. Totoo naman, di ba? Lalo na ngayon with all the social medias, we get to see everything. One author said, we live in a world that is focused on three things. And just like the Canaanites, ano yung three things na yun? Money, sex, and idolatry. Idolatry in any form. But the question here is, kumusta yung relationship natin with God? Do we compromise? Just like what the Israelites did. And when we experience defeat against temptation, do we surrender and admit before God? And do we call upon God to deliver us from these temptations? So be careful, temptation is everywhere. Although temptation in itself is not sin, it only becomes sin when you say yes to it. Okay, so be careful with how you what you feed your mind. Of course, movies you watch, when you surf on the internet, so many stuff. You get to see so many stuff. What else? Movies that you watch, books that you read, magazines, all these things. Temptation is everywhere. And of course, to become wise according to um oh, I forgot his name. He's a famous Rick Warren. To become wise, spend time with wise people. And that's what Proverbs 13:20. Can somebody read Proverbs 13:20? Quotation siya, in quote siya, because this is what Rick Warren said. Can somebody read Proverbs 13:20?
He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fool suffers harm.
Yes. So, sabi nga nila, choose your friends wisely. And do not run with the wrong crowd long enough, because baka ikaw na ang ma-influence nila. So, spend time with the wise, so you'll become wise. But if you spend time with the fools, then you become like them. Okay? And those are just some thoughts, and probably you can add to that one, no? Later on when you finish reading the book of Judges, some realizations that you might have. And of course, yung ultimate deliverer judge natin is the Lord Jesus Christ, no other. So whatever situations we might be in, we just have to call upon him, and he will rescue us, just like what he did to his people in the past. No, some thoughts here, more thoughts here is the book of Joshua reveals that victory, success, and progress result when we, God's people, is us also, trust and obey him consistently. But Judges shows that defeat and failure, retrogression, follow when we fail to trust and obey consistently. And there's one here that says faithfulness to God results in national unity. Unfaithfulness results in disintegration into tribes that are sometimes at odds with each other, which happened sa Israelites, no? And faithfulness to Jehovah results in complete possession of Canaan, pero unfaithfulness results in oppression by other nations. But the thing here, the bottom line here is that the book of Judges is a testament of God's faithfulness, because throughout Israel's history, God remained faithful to his people, and he showed his mercy to his people. So even if this is, the darkest ages in the history of Israel, yet we see yung faithfulness of God sa chosen people niya. Hindi niya talaga pinabayaan. Kahit na ano pang ginawa sa kanya, kumbaga nagiging bastos na sila, no? Because they dishonored God when they started to worship those idols. And yet, yung heart ni God for them sobra. I mean, he could have just, you know, annihilate them or kill them or what, or just choose another group of people to be his chosen people. Pero wala eh. He is still faithful to his covenant to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, any thoughts? Any additional? Any realizations before we go to the last one, which dapat sana mag-breakout rooms tayo, pero parang nagka-problema ako sa paggawa ng rooms. So, I will just leave this question to you and before we go. But any thoughts? Any anything that you want to share to the group? Are you still
May
awake?
question lang.
Yes. We'll try to answer
Um,
it if I can.
Actually, ma'am, it's just reading pa lang po. Actually, dalawa to. First is, si Deborah lang po ba ang tanging babae sa Book of Judges na minention doon?
Yes, the only judge, siya lang. The first one. Um,
Okay.
based on the record, siya lang. Yes, Jen. Of course, the Miriam was also a prophetess naman siya yon. Earlier part naman si
Pero,
Miriam, diba? Mm-mm. Pero in terms of yung judge, si Deborah lang.
oh,
Yes, what's your other
um,
question?
another question ko po, ma'am. Kasi di ba po, na-mention po yun na yung Canaan is a land flowing with milk and honey. Ibig sabihin,
Mm-mm.
very fertile
Mm-mm.
ang land.
Mm.
And then you mentioned in while the discussion natin, wala pong tubig nung time na
Not so,
nagkasala
not,
po yung
yes.
mga Israel. Ah, is it, ma'am, the consequence of their sin na hindi sigad ng send ng rain? Or
Ano,
is
I
it
think,
because
yes, it's very interesting to study yung condition ng land sa Israel, no? I think I read somewhere na yung land of milk and honey, parang hindi naman daw yun talaga literal. Parang in that sense, it's really a land flowing with milk and honey. Um, parang hindi siya. Pero ang pagkaalam ko, I think we took up yung geography sa land sa Israel is hindi siya ganon ka, what do you call this? Hindi siya ganon yung in terms of water, I think there is parang hindi siya masyadong
nalalak?
kaya kaya remember there were some stories, I think sa Old Testament or sa New, na parang they water was really very precious kasi hindi naman ganon kadaming tubig. Um, pero it would be nice to also study the land, no? Pero that's what I remember from my professor in the past, na parang hindi naman siya ganun ka in terms of water supply. And yung sinasabi flowing with milk and honey, parang what does it mean? Is it literally flowing with milk and honey, or it's an idiomatic expressions, or maybe some other meanings to that one? But it's a uh, good way to ano, I mean, it's a good time to study these terms and check also on, I'll try to review yung land nila. But I know parang ganun din eh. That's why they resorted to it, because just to make sure na may rain, just to make sure that rain would come to water their crops, parang something like that. Because sa Egypt, wala naman sila problema. Nandun yung Nile River. So they get water from the Nile. But here, and di ba yung Dead Sea, hindi naman, so, uh, yeah, the Dead Sea is, hindi naman pwede yun. Ano. So I think the only one is the Sea of Galilee and the Jordan River. That's where also they depend on it. But I'll try to check, and then I'll add more information to that one. So thanks for the question, Genesis. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Just before I flash the question for you to think about tonight, maybe before you go to sleep. If there's none, okay, I'm sure you're all pagod na rin and sleepy. So here's the question. For you to think about. Dapat discussion to, group discussion to eh. Okay. Idolatry takes many different forms. What are some forms of modern idolatry? And which of these idols that you struggle with in your life? Lahat naman tayo meron, di ba? So, idolatry today does not only mean may statwa dyan, kung sino-sino pa. But it could be a lot of things. It could be even yourself. It could even be people around you. It could be your studies. So many, no? Mm, I read somewhere sa Facebook. Well, this is a good one because this was posted by one of the daughters of Peter Tanchi. Do you know Peter Tanchi? He's a senior pastor of CCF. So yes, Peter Tanchi. Yung daughter niya si Joy, 'di ba? She would always
Yes,
post
ma'am,
something.
the rape,
Yes,
rape
uh,
siya.
si Joy. She would always post something and very helpful to read yung mga reflections niya, no? And she showed a picture of papa mama niya hugging each other. And she mentioned something about why she posted it ganun. And then she also mentioned about yung recent na pastor, I think somewhere in the US, who fell into sin. I think nagkaroon siya ng another affair. So she was like hoping na, parang hindi mangyari yun sa kanila as husband and wife. And she was saying that anything could happen. And she also even mentioned na yung love of yourself and how siguro etong pastor is very popular. So, di ba sometimes when we are so successful in the ministry, minsan na pupunta yun sa head natin, we become so proud and we give credit to ourselves. And so, especially when you're a good preacher, when you are, good sa young people, this and that. So sometimes people look up to you and they praise you and they just say something positive about you. And so sometimes those things would get into your head and you start to feel like, oh wow, diba? So that in itself is parang nagiging idol na rin yung self mo. So yourself could be an idol in that sense, no? Kasi super believe and then you give credit to yourself already instead of giving credit to God. So you just have to be very careful with that. I'll try to find that writings that I don't know if Shekinah you read that. It's a nice one there. It's a good reflection, no? And it's a good reminder for all of us yung sinulat niya doon na yun, sometimes uh, we just have different forms of idolatry sa idols sa life natin. And sometimes we might not even know na nagiging idol na pala yun. No, it could be your cell phone, it could be anything else, no? Your education, anything. So we just have to be very careful because otherwise those idols might just um, lead us away from the Lord. And we just have to be very careful with that. Okay? So with that, we're gonna end our class tonight. It's already 1 hour and 45 minutes. And thank you for being with us, with me, 3, 6, 7, 8 na lang kayo. Wala na yung iba, but it's okay. I hope we all did learn something tonight from the experiences, from, the direct experiences of the Israelites. Okay, so thank you all. Good night. I'll see you in I'll see you on Thursday Thursday ba ang quiz natin? Is that okay, Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and
Ma'am.
then I'll try to,
Yes.
I'll try to post the PowerPoint from Exodus to Deuteronomy on, I'll try to do it tomorrow. Then I'll try to do the exam or the quiz para hindi na tayo type. You just have to click it na lang, no? So I'll try to learn to do that. And yun. So study, siguro not na 50 items, siguro mga less, mga siguro for 35, something like, kasi 4 books to eh. But everything that we talk about sa PowerPoint, or sometimes I will get its readings ninyo or from the videos. So, yun lang. But everything naman is na-discuss natin sa class. So, don't worry about it. Okay, so thank you so much. And hopefully others can join us. I don't know why I have not seen Flovertino. Matt, I have not seen him. I don't know if he's still with us. And the rest, David, sometimes yung connection lang. But it's okay. I think Flovertina is my problem now. And si Matt, I don't see him actually. Franz, diba you're together with Matt? Si Matt, are you together with Matt? Ikaw,
Yes,
diba?
ma'am.
Oo. Parang, I don't know, parang di man siya na masyado nag-a-attend ng class.
Um, Ma'am, kasi phone lang yung ginagamit ko every time na mag-class tayo. Kaya medyo, ano lang, sa lahat,
Ginagamit ang phone?
phone lang po yung ginagamit ko, ma'am. Kaya hindi ko makita if andun siya or if
Oh, yun na nga eh. Yeah, I also do not
I
get to
will
see
present.
kung sinong, oo. Pero di ba same church kayo? You just remind him na lang. Yeah. So, that's it. Good night. Thank you. Sleep tight and God bless you. Study well.
Ma'am,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Good
Thank
night
you.
po.
Thank you too. Good night. Good night. Good night. Ingat.